Welcome to the Pennywise Financial Podcast. This is Constantine here, Monarch Wealth Management, with my co-host today, Dave Georgiev. And Dave, why don't you welcome our guest?
All right, we have real estate mogul Greg Castirchini joining us. Greg, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on in real estate. We cannot wait to pick your brain and dissect your answers.
Be careful there, but I'm happy to offer you everything that I got.
Greg, I guess I'll start off if that's cool.
Yes. Fire away.
Just kind of like the thing I like about our guests is like real people, real jobs, just doing the best they can on the streets. So tell us, what are you seeing? When you put your ear up to the train track? What's the vibe you're getting in the real estate market here in Rochester and upstate New York?
It's the Wild Wild West is what we've kind of thought about it for a term. We've had these bidding wars, and we're very short on supply, which has made it the seller's market we've been in for years and years. And then you had the rates that went from threes we're now a little over 8.25, which has changed affordability for a lot of people. We still have bidding wars and we still have competitive things. So it's just always a different challenge, but you have to keep pivoting, and you have to, just like you guys do in wealth management, be ahead of that game, take those things into account so that you're helping your clients do what they're trying to do. And, you guys can have some success doing that too.
You still have bidding wars going on right now?
Still.
Wow.
Yep.
Why is that? What do you think is attributing to that?
I always tell people it's just your simple, microeconomics 101. It's supply and demand. We have 10 buyers in one house. And even though people have started to give up on that, or student loans have kicked in, or people aren't buying, houses because they're starting families later, it's an investing thing now. Many people know how good it is to invest in real estate, for the returns you can get. They're inflation proof and all that stuff throughout all the years. You have the big, huge companies like BlackRock out of Texas, and you have like the mom and pop investors like us.
Yeah.
We're building little things, they're building the big stuff. But that single family housing that no one builds at that price anymore. No one builds 1,000 square foot ranches anymore, or little Cape Cods, because there's no money in it for the builder. So it's just this, the money is where everyone flows to, and this little stuff is no longer that money unless it's on a big scale. So
I got a question for you.
Sure.
You mentioned price of home, size of home. Right now, interest rates, what are rates now? 30-year mortgage, ballpark.
I just looked this morning. Obviously, there's a few factors like credit score and all that stuff to go into it, but and down payments, a little over 8.25 right now.
Jeez. 8.25%.
Yeah.
So I saw like it was like a quick clip. I don't know if it was one of those TikToks or Reels, one of those things where it talked about a $200,000 house and a mortgage at 3%. So like a year and a half ago. Affordability and what you need for a down payment, your credit score, but then based on your income. So say you were making $100,000 a year. So a year and a half ago, you qualify for this $300,000-$400,000 house, no problem. Today, you may not even qualify for the same price. So you want to buy a house for $200K, you might not even qualify,
right? Because
your income didn't match the rate of number one, rates going up, but inflation. So how are you helping buyers? Are buyers coming in with cash? Are they putting more money down? How are they able to buy a house now?
It was, I kind of got a chuckle. We actually all got a lot of chuckles. When rates are down to 3%, it was the last time we really had those was January, February of last year. That's when they started to climb up. In regards to the change in the price part that you mentioned, I had buyers that were looking at these 4-bedroom houses with a pool, and then mid-year rates are double, and they're like, I can only get a 3-bedroom with no pool. So
what happened?
They're like, I like the other one better.
Yeah.
That's what we got.
By the way, pool, like a pool is in right now, right? It used to be like, oh, I got to take care of this pool. I don't know if I want to buy the house. It was like maybe a detractor,
Depends
but like break even. But now I feel like pools are like, oh, you got a pool? I'll pay you $20,000 over ask,
right?
Or over list.
Pools have, interesting enough, zero value in an appraisal.
Right.
Right. So it's really only eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
Correct.
That shocks me.
It's crazy. And you think about the backyard, setups you can get. You got all your stonework, you got your kitchen, you get the in-ground pool. We had put money down for an in-ground pool where we built, and I've since taken that back for a little bit, but it was like $65,000 just for your pool. That's not the stonework. That's not the whole outside. So I'm like, you're putting $150,000, $200,000 into a nice backyard for 6 months a year. I can think of some better things to do with
I
that,
know,
right?
I know.
And
Maybe
then-
6 months.
Yeah, if
I
you're-
mean, what do you
yeah.
get? Like 4 months, really?
Made us
With a heater, maybe you pull 5.
If you get a heater, yeah. My buddy Kevin has a heater in his pool, and he says, I want to say end of May, like Memorial Day, they're swimming like that weekend. Because he's like, I spent all this money on this backyard.
You're gonna swim.
Yeah,
I love it.
Kids are gonna swim whether you like it or not. Like
Dad,
literally.
it's cold.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, son.
Be quiet. Yeah. So it's, you know, I wanted them. I wanted to have the place to host, but you know, you hear every dad you've ever known, as soon as the kids get old enough and they're out of the house, that pool's gone, right?
Yeah.
I'm not taking care of this anymore. You know, and then there's there's a chlorine shortage during COVID or whatever.
That's
So
right. You remember that?
You couldn't even use it. You had to
Yeah.
like come up with some DIY.
Even last year
chlorine.
it wasn't plentiful.
Oh, man. And it's
Chlorine?
just like,
Yeah.
you know,
Why? What happened?
I don't know. Maybe a
The
chlorine
war in
plant blew
Ukraine,
up or
did
something.
they supply chlorine too?
Who knows?
I mean,
We can go down that rabbit hole too.
yeah.
So anyway,
But yeah, it's you know, you'll do eye of the beholder, right? Is kind of how I take that term for like pools and all that. So but yeah, you know, people I always kind of just I shoot them straight, and I think that's what has helped me have a little bit of the successes. You know, I don't really candy coat it for you. You know, I'm not mean about it, but it's like, listen, you're gonna pick what you can afford, and it's gonna be based on your payment or how much money you want to put down or whatever that might be. But make it comfortable for yourself. You don't want to be house poor. You know, even though a house is a great investment, regardless, you don't want to be house poor. But values will not stop going up, and that's one thing that a lot of people are having trouble getting. But you've had people through all the years like rates were at 3, and cash was everybody was paying cash. Where did all this cash come from? How do people have all this cash? You know, but that's what you needed. So banks like Premium Mortgage down the street, GRB. They make these cash guarantees, which was taking cash. The biggest difference from cash and a mortgage was the appraisal. So there's a value applied. When these bidding wars were going up, those appraisals could fall short, which meant the seller wasn't getting everything he was offered. But with a cash offer, it didn't matter. There was no appraisal. So we waived appraisals, and people were paying over appraised values if they even got the appraisal. And, you know, banks would still do the loan, but the appraisal wasn't one of the contingencies of it. So everyone's just reacting to how things are going and blowing up. But money was basically free at 3%.
3% is free.
It was basically free.
The
And you're using
opportunity
this
there.
cash for what?
Yes.
You know, I got lucky to have grabbed a few rentals of my own during that period of time, and I have none over 4.5% interest rates.
Wow.
The rent doesn't change. You know, the maintenance does, right? Those go to inflation, but the only thing that change, like your gross revenues will go up because it's market based.
Yep. And rent though, like when you talk about rent, that's gone up tremendously.
Rent has exploded. I always feel terrible for the people involved. But I obviously cannot control. None of us can control
it's a
such a
going
large
rate.
scale thing. And at the end of the day, I got rentals for my family to try to give us a bit of a retirement and they're all going to need braces and contacts and glasses and all that stuff. So it was just, you know, this is a way that you can build that passive income. And, you know, I have a lot of clients that I teach how to do that and show them the ropes of being a landlord and, you know, be a good person, take care of the place. You're still providing housing to someone and good housing, you know, if you do it correctly. And that's what I really aim to do. And I don't get a lot of turnover for that. But
So do you help with investors and retail clients that are just looking to buy like a single family home?
Yep.
What's your bread and butter?
unfortunately, we have to be in everything at this point, right? Like, you know, we have over 4,000 agents in Monroe County, right? So
Real estate agent.
real estate agents, yeah. So, you know, bread and butter, I would say, is your residential, someone's residential home. I do help investors. You know, we're still buying homes or buildings or land. And my experience with construction and developing and all that has helped me to help them, you know, lay those plans out, know how to go look at, you know, parcels and, you know, flood zones and zoning and what can we do in this zoning? How do we get this changed? You know, I have clients that are all developers, you know, and all we do is buy land, we buy huge things, we buy warehouses and convert them. And
What would you say? I have a few clients that come to mind that have wanted to become or add to their real estate portfolio, right?
Mhm.
What advice would you give to them? Because the problem they're having is the stuff that's on the market now is maybe assessed at, like, let's call it between 200 to 250,000, right? It's on the market for 375, 400, and it sells for like 450, 475. So they're not able to raise the rent to offset the cost of taxes going up when it gets reassessed, insurance and covering the mortgage with rates being so high. What advice would you tell them to be patient? I mean, is there opportunity right now?
Uh, Standard.
Tough question. I know.
Always opportunity.
Okay.
Where the opportunity is, sometimes you have to make your own opportunity. It's kind of how I do it. The easy low hanging fruit stuff where you could just say, oh, I'll rent it for this. I bought it for this. This is easy money. Those days are kind of gone. But I think that's what I like about the investing side of real estate, commercial, residential, whatever it might be. You can lay out what the market rents are, whether you have them today or not. We'll find out, but you can get there eventually. You can calculate what those tax rates are going to be. You can be as aggressive with that estimate or as non-aggressive. I always say be aggressive.
Yeah.
Plan for the worst
Right.
if the money still works. If the numbers make sense, it's a good buy. And that's kind of, we didn't know that this pop was going to happen. I don't foresee any reason they would go down because they technically can't just be pulled down.
You're saying going down in value.
Like the rent, yeah. The houses just continue on that steady path of 5 to 7 on average, and they always will. And you can look historically to the 70s when rates have done what we're doing now. And you'll probably see some stuff on the internet too that I found even helpful was same idea. The rates doubled, but the values do not change. It's just you're paying more in interest, but you can always refinance later when rates become more favorable if the numbers work. So it's really just understanding how to run those numbers from any angle, and then again, the creativity, you can just keep getting more creative. And that's where you can really get some big things. I have a friend of mine, one of my best clients too. He grabbed this old, they used to manufacture, I believe, bullets there and some other things way back out in Geneseo.
That sounds pretty cool.
I'm going to convert this entire thing into storage. And it's right by the Geneseo College. So it was an 8-9 month process of getting, we went to the town with all of our approvals. We did all like the back work. He had his contractor sizing everything up. So a lot of work goes into it, a lot up front. Then he's going to have to do a lot of development, but then he's going to have a massive, and mini storage is probably one of the highest demand things because it's pretty low maintenance. You just kind of have a big metal box there. You switch it and everybody's on auto pay.
Yeah.
And everybody has too much stuff that they buy, right? So why would we ever throw it out? Go throw it in storage and pay for that.
Let's pay for that. Yeah.
So,
Stupidity.
you can get that creative to squeeze the money out of something. But it's always just put those numbers on paper. What is it? What do we need for it to make sense for me? And then everybody has their own appetite for investing, as you guys know, and risk. So we kind of just, you line it up accordingly.
Sure. Before, did you have something to add to that, Con?
No, I was going to flip gears and go back to residential in a second, but go ahead.
I was just going to say, before we kind of cut to commercial here, I was just going to ask, in your opinion, do you think that, and I think the answer is no, this is not a bubble, like from a pricing standpoint. I don't think so either. Specifically residential. Commercial, we could debate that a little bit, but residential, what's your take, Greg?
Not even close. A lot of the people that the difference between now and 0809 was banks were then not holding their mortgages. And all they had to do was just go sell them and transfer them to the secondary market. And there was no real quality check of these. So that's where you got the no money verification pre-approvals.
What's your name, Greg? Okay, let me look up your social media profile. You're approved.
Yeah, you're good.
Great.
What do you make? I make $10,000 a month. Here you go.
Here's a $250,000 house.
And then I take that fake money and I buy a house. Well, guess what? I'm going to bid higher because I'm not really feeling the difference.
Yep.
And then that's where all the values went up because they were recorded as sales, when in reality it was fluff. It was all air. There were bad loans.
Yeah.
And as we know, if you watch some of the Inside Job, I actually threw a message. I sent him. Great documentary from 2010. And it really just spells that out.
What's it called?
The Inside Job.
Inside Job. I don't know it.
So literally just detailed, the banks leveraged selling their bad loans, and they took
bundled
stuff
them.
that made
Bundle them up, put a bow on it.
and they also bought the products that would prosper, if you will, when those failed. And guess what? Nothing ever happened. And that's why there's a lot of grief with it. But guess what? They tell you to move on and leave it alone. I'm not diving into those holes. But that 0809, it was fake. It was error. It didn't exist.
You're saying trust the government.
I don't know if you said that.
You should trust everyone. No, it's one of those things. This one, like everything is honestly now more cash and real hard money going to these purchases and these values. So today, way more than any other year, it's probably more of a sound value than it ever used to be. But yeah, the ones that were made there were loans and sales that were based on air, and that's why everything fell out underneath it. But now today, obviously, there's a lot better regulation in place.
For sure.
And again, if you look, it doesn't matter 3%, 8%, the values continue to tick up on all of these homes that people buy. And that's just kind of going to, and that goes with inflation and everything else that goes up over our time. So,
Last question before break. Thinking of the family that wants to buy their single family, maybe their forever home. Before all this, these prices kind of got out of control. Last year and a half, 2 years, and rates started spiking. What was the difference between somebody coming to you and saying, Greg, we want to start the process, finding a house, closing? What was that scale like before? Was it 3 months? Was it 6 months? What does it compare to now? Is it a longer process because they're losing out on houses? They're getting overbid. They're not able to qualify for the house that they might want. Is it a longer process? I guess is what I'm asking.
not necessarily. So
No?
it's
Okay.
yeah, it's me. I like to be very upfront with expectations. So I kind of, when we sit down the first time, I really break it down to you.
You break their heart right away.
Listen, if I try to butter you
Shatter
up,
their
I'm
dreams.
not doing you a favor. I'm gonna tell you,
Sure.
listen, this is gonna be basically a vicious fight. You're gonna get in there and you're gonna be swinging
Yeah.
when you're ready to. But we'll get you prepped in the meantime. I'll get your heads wrapped around how it is. We'll get you pre-qualified so you know what you can afford, play with numbers, pick and choose the town you want to be in, do all that stuff. It's really just making sure they're prepped mentally, because that's really what it is. It's really just mental attrition as you're going through getting 7, 8 things denied and you lose. But I always say, we're not going to get this house at this number because we're not looking at a list price. We're looking at the recent sales. And that's even been hard because sales from 2 months ago have nothing to do with today's market.
Yeah.
So our comps become we lost on this one in the last 3 weeks. This one checks more boxes. We're going to go higher on this one. That's how you're bidding on houses these days. And luckily, there's a lot of good agents that will share, hey, this one that we just sold, this was our traffic, this is what we had. So we can be up to date on what we're selling and offering to make sure that we're not way outside of the loop either. But I have people that, still first one we've looked at, the offer goes in, we've got it. There's ones that we miss 5, 6, 7. And for missing 5, 6, 7, I'm probably not doing my job right.
I was just gonna say, if you're getting a bite on the first one and you guys get the score, that tells me that you prepped your client. They already know the expectation. They're gonna pay X whatever it might be, and you've prepared them. If you're losing 5 or 6 or 7 or 10, maybe they don't have a realistic view of what's actually happening in the current environment.
Right. And it's touchy. I'm here to serve a client, and the yes man, if you will, to my opinion, is not one that serves their client very well. I'm not going to do everything you ask me to do if it doesn't make total sense on all levels. I always say, I work for you. We're here to work for you. But if I didn't say this to you, I'm probably not doing you a favor, and if we're like, oh, we'll give it a shot. No, it's not realistic.
So you tell them up front, no, you're not going to get it.
I say, listen, I'm sorry, I'm going to be straight with you. I had a couple. One was they're a lawyer for the FBI, and the other person was he actually works down at Shaw. He's a surgeon, and they're relocating here. I've talked to them for over a year, right, via emails. Where the construction company was going to do some of their basement and backyard remodeling. It was a big client, and long story short, I set expectations as I always do. And there's a couple houses that they wanted to write on, and I was like, listen, it's not going to go for this number. This isn't how it works here. And I was getting pushback. No, my friend said this. I'm like, well, your friend lives where? Arizona. Well, why would they know more about Rochester, New York than me? And then, oh, well, her Remax tool said it's worth this much. I'm like, a computer is only worth so much. Wouldn't you rather have a person that is there and using those tools plus his own knowledge of appraisal and like, again, it's Zillow tried doing the iBuying thing for a while where they bought houses with just here's your offer.
They shut down that unit.
They lost over $1 billion.
We did the same
using
thing in
their
our
own
world.
Z estimate, which everybody's like, well, Zillow says, I'm like, well, how'd that work for Zillow?
Yeah.
It's not, technology is great, but it is not always better than the human. And again, use them together.
It's a tool.
It's a tool.
Making the best of them, right? So it's one of those things. You can't take all that stuff, but in the end, she didn't like the advice I was giving, and it was honest, and all the advice followed through the way it would. So not everybody's always going to agree with you, but I'm not the one that will sit back and just do what I'm asked completely when I know it's not making sense, because essentially that becomes a loss of my time. And I value time with the clients and being efficient. And then it's also, I want family time, and if I'm
Yeah.
running around Monroe County for 2 years and writing houses at 50,000 under what they sell for, no one's winning.
Nobody
We're
wins.
wasting everyone's
Wasting
time.
your time, their time, the agent's time.
So it's one of those, it's a hard combo, but I can have the hard combos. And if it's not a fit, then it's okay. It's like, find someone that will do that for you. But I'd rather be doing it and
Find someone that'll run around like a
it doesn't make
donkey.
sense. So why would you want to go through that all those times?
No.
So it becomes one of those fun conversations. But yeah, it's you just set the expectations and tell them this is how it's going to be probably, and get them ready for the worst. And we go in there and we write good offers, and we have success doing that. It seems, and good feedback from our clients when we do it that way. So
Yeah.
Greg, keeping it real, crushing my dreams. With that, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with the show. Do you want help building and managing an investment portfolio that's right for you? One that will help you maximize growth potential while you're saving, help you generate income when you need it most, and eventually preserve what you've saved to leave to your beneficiaries? We do this day in and day out and take the stress and responsibility of making those decisions off your plate. Subscribe to our newsletter, read our blog post, and listen to our podcast to get a flavor of how we do things. Our firm is unique and capable of handling all your investment and insurance needs. Monarch Wealth Management, our guidance, your future. Welcome back to the Pennywise Financial Podcast. Constantine here, joined by my co-host today, Dave Georgiev, and our guest, Greg. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Greg, we just talked about interest rates and what people are going through to buy. What piece of advice, what's the single best piece of advice you could give someone right now that's looking to buy a home? Anything come to mind?
Get a good plan. It's really get your plan. Everyone's plan will be specific to them, where they want to be, how much they want to pay, what kind of lifestyle they want will depend on that payment. If you're looking in Pittsford and Brighton at these nicer, bigger houses, it's going to be a more expensive payment. So you're going to have less money for other things. Are you young? Do you want to travel? Maybe do a little bit less.
So what's ideal? They, husband and wife sit down, kind of get a game plan of what they want to do, where they want to live, some of the things they want. They meet with you. Do they get pre-approved on at that point?
That's what I was.
Do you guys kind of like, what's the process look like?
So honestly, the very first step would always be to get pre-qualified, because at the end of the day, that controls more than anything else. You might want, everyone wants that $1 million house, right?
Who doesn't?
Well,
sure.
I don't want to take care of it, to be honest. But let's just say we all do. If you can't afford it, then it's like, what are we doing? We're wasting our time. So that really will be the biggest factor, right? Now, I'll sit with people before we do that pre-qualification at times. Usually the stuff is referral. And I'll go over, what kind of stuff do you want to live? Where do you want to live? What do you want out of your house? Do you not want stairs? Do you want a yard? I kind of call it like, we cast a huge net to start. No matter what, we're always down to one, right? Buying one house. But because there isn't a lot of inventory, make a bigger net. We'll get a bigger area, be open to more things. We want 2 full baths. What if we have 1 full bath and we can add 1 for you? Okay, that works. All right, now I have a bigger net. So those little things. I need 2 bedrooms with an office. Okay, because in our world, if it doesn't have heat and a closet, it's not a room, right?
Mhm,
Bedroom is defined. So an office is still a bed. Like, you could live in there, you just don't have a closet, right? Or we can build a closet. So a lot of those workarounds, when you don't have all the options, instead of trying to narrow too many options down, we have not enough. So let's not rule these things out and see if we can creatively make them work. So we kind of dig into all that. I tell them about renovation loans, which, you could get a house that's just beat. And
That sounds like fun.
the bank will loan. It honestly works out pretty nice for everybody at the end, right?
I'm
a
you know
huge
what? I only
advocate.
laugh and I look at Dave because I think of this building.
Because
the
of the
project.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It was a long project.
You see some things, but you're like, you get done, you're like, you know what?
It was worth it.
It was worth it.
Yeah.
I've had 4 clients so far. They bought on the renovation program. So basically you roll the cost of some of that renovation into your mortgage. So instead of paying out of pocket after.
So is that like a construction loan?
Yep.
Okay.
It's like similar. And they just call it a rental loan. So,
Okay.
One example, we did one in Penfield. We put 90 grand in. So they bought the house and we redid. We took walls out, put load bearing beams in. We did all new floors. We put in new sliders. We put a new electrical service. We painted cabinets. We took one really big bathroom, cut it into a kid's bathroom, and then a master bath or primary bath as they're going these days. Um, New carpets in the bedrooms, and literally every time we've done it, let's say we paid 200 for the house, we paid 100 for that rental, so you're in for 300. Our appraisals always come back higher than the total that they put in. So even hiring us professionally, or any person, I just know of ours that we've done, obviously, you get more value out of it equity wise doing it all, and then you pick your own finishes, right? Instead of paying premium for what you guys put in your house, as nice as it is, you might have done something a little bit different. So now you get to do everything you want for that exact dollar, and you still get to get the value out of it. And you're not usually bidding against as many people because it's not as nice of a house.
Yeah.
We always say the shiny penny is what everybody goes for, and then you'll pay all that fluff because everybody's bidding the same thing higher and higher.
Yeah.
The ones that are a little rough, you just obviously you got to put the time in.
You got to shine it up.
So it's one of those things. If you're willing to take the time or do the extra things to get there,
Yeah.
usually you'll get the value of that patience and that effort.
So when you apply for a loan like that, I'm assuming that the bank comes in and they're like, all right, you're buying the house for 150 grand. We're going to give you a loan for 100 grand. So we got to make sure that when it's all said and done, this house will appraise at 250 or whatever the case may be.
Yep. We make an itemized list of everything we want to do.
Mhm.
And then the bank will just make sure that on the other end, comps are supportive of the amount of money going in, because obviously they won't.
Yeah.
over
And do they pay
themselves.
the contractors direct? Is that kind of how that
Yep. So
program
the
works?
contractor gets a draw. They do an inspection. It's kind of like a new build. So they
Yeah.
have draws and inspections and go out there to make sure everything's going as it should.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it doesn't change the way the offer is written, right? So the offer is written is a normal loan.
Yeah.
And it closes as a normal loan. So the seller doesn't take any extra, risk on by taking that
Mhm.
offer. It's still conventional. There's FHA ones too, 203Ks they call them and stuff. But another great product. It's really just getting outside the box from everybody
Yeah.
else
I
is
kind of like
doing.
that, man.
And again, that's kind of what we specialize in. We found all these outside ways to make things happen for people.
Yeah. Your analogy to the shiny penny, I think, makes so much sense. Like everybody's going for that super shiny penny and they're going to fight in, tooth and nail. Where if you get this dull penny, it just needs a little TLC and you could make that just a shiny.
Yep. Let it soak for a couple of days and whatever, scrub it up,
Scrub it.
any of those
Yeah.
things. But yeah, and it's natural. I mean, today's day and world, people want everything now.
Yeah.
They don't want to have to deal with it. And in reality, sometimes you don't want to have to remodel the whole place before you move. You just want to move
Sure,
in and
sure.
focus on work or your kids or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's not always that there isn't a reason to do it, but if you have the ability to take those extra couple steps,
Yeah.
I think you get a lot more long-term value out of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Some
But-
people have a hard time with a clean slate, like visualizing everything. Even if it can be done, it's like there's so many options that I become overwhelmed.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, there's a lot of different things that you do that I think are tough or challenging. What do you think the hardest part about your job? That was not a softball pitch, was it?
No,
No, it's good.
No.
right down the middle.
Honestly, the demand, to be honest, when I started knowing I had to be competitive and do the extra legwork to build up, right? Like you did with this business when you started,
Mhm.
you got to do the extra grind. And I always made dedication to all my clients. Like I will put them first.
Mhm.
The joke that I'll tell all my clients, and sadly, I'll tell everybody how fat I am. But basically,
Here we go.
I'll sit down at night with bowl ice cream. I like ice cream.
I
That's what
remember
do,
this story, actually.
Yeah, see, that's everybody. And I always just said, like, if people need me, I'm there. And my wife, I made sure she was okay with it before I started this. It's like, listen, this is the commitment I need to have if I'm going to make anything of this. So, in these scenarios, I sit down, I think my night's over, and I'll get a message or a call, like they got questions on something. Son of a gun. I take that ice cream, I put it in the freezer, I go have that phone call. It doesn't matter if it's an hour or 10 minutes, and then I go back to myself. So I've taken a lot of my own quality of life, if you will. I'm happy doing what I do, so it's not like I'm miserable, but like that's happened. There's sometimes in the summer it's busy. I didn't eat with my family for 2 weeks straight because everyone's
Ouch.
getting out of work
Yeah.
and we got to show. You have to be there for your people, and if you're not, it doesn't make you a bad person. But some people are impatient to wait, and they will go find someone else. Again, there's 4,000 people in Monroe County with.
And people are
Good
so
place.
impatient now.
So
Right,
They
impatient.
want an
Yeah.
answer right away.
Yep, and they get it. So my whole day is always on it, right? And then you have to be dialed in. You have to be on it. If you're not, you're falling behind. I'm at the point, and this it sounds silly saying it, but if I drive 30 minutes, say I drive from like my house in Parma to like Webster, 30-minute drive, I'll have like 14 emails and 10 text messages just from that drive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, now I'm behind. And then I do that same drive back plus an appointment. I got an hour and a half to catch it up to do. And it's like, I almost need someone to drive for me so I can just answer messages all day, which is just silly. I mean,
So
I'm
you
not
need a
that
chauffeur is
big
what
in
we're
it.
getting to.
I'm not. So Dave, what are you doing? I'm just gonna-
Driving.
I kind of need, no, so that's one of those things, but you got to get to it, right? So you can get to it when you get home, but when I get home, I kind of want to be home with my family, be home with my kids, but
Yeah.
people need you. You know, and again, a lot of the people that have done this for a long time, they're able to say, you know, these are my hours. You call me between these hours, I'll be there, you know, or you got to get the team where other people can answer. But, you know, I don't like when my assistant, like when she goes home, go home. I don't want you dealing with stuff after 5
Yeah.
o'clock. I don't want you doing it on the weekends. Like you're allowed that separation. I don't want you to go through what I have to go through. But you know, being there for everybody and making sure everybody understands, and they are. You know, I build those expectations the same.
Sure.
You need me, let me know. I'm there. The only time I'm not responding is if I'm in another appointment or something. I'm never just going to ignore anybody. And at some point, when I know I'm ready to not be able to do that anymore, that's when I'd take a step back and be a little more over, you know, supervisory and stuff and work with less people. But that's why I'm building the team to what I'm building it to, so they have other resources and still have access to us, and they can get all the same, you know, benefits and value that we provide. And I don't physically have to do it myself every minute.
Well, yeah, we can't split you in half, can we?
You know, I tried. Didn't work.
We're gonna pull them on each
Pull
arm
apart.
after. Important question though, before we transition. What's your go-to ice cream, bro?
Oh, Panda Paws all day.
Panda Paws?
Panda Paws.
Anna Paul, what's that? I don't even know.
Got like the little peanut butter pieces in there with the
now you're
chocolate
talking.
fudge.
Yeah, peanut butter.
They got a chocolate and vanilla one. I like the chocolate too. I'm a chocolate guy, but the vanilla one's like the nice mix.
Yeah.
Then you throw about 38,000 toppings on that thing.
Do you like at home?
Oh,
You have like little ice cream sundae
It could be
stand.
a problem.
Yeah.
Be a problem. Like 4 or 5 scoops. I'm like, honey, is there a bigger bowl? No. You have a problem. You have a problem.
Ice cream problem.
Const, what's your favorite ice cream? You're not a big ice cream guy?
That's a great question. There's so many good choices. I don't, you know, like what's that vanilla bean on
Mhm.
like an apple pie or something like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like a
There's
nice
some
I
combos.
like a combo.
Combos
That's
are
what
good
I like.
thing.
Yeah.
Apple
And-
pie with some vanilla ice cream. I'm a cookie dough guy. If I gotta go like
Cookie. Oh, those
Hey,
chunks.
yeah.
Can't go wrong.
But sometimes you get that like that cheapo ice cream and it's barely got any cookie dough.
Can't.
You're like,
That's
it's
the
weak.
Why are you
curse.
buying the cheapo ice
I didn't say I bought it. I'm saying I've been places.
Oh, I
I've been
got you.
places. So
Blacklist those places.
yeah. What
No
kind? Like who do you buy? What was it? Ben and Jerry's or
Perry's.
Perry's?
So
Yeah, Perry's is good.
Perry's.
Yeah.
Perry's.
He didn't even
Perry's is like
hesitate.
Panda Paws.
Yeah, he was like
Well, I know
Perry's.
my ice cream. I've passed the store for the next store knowing they don't have the right ice cream. You know,
You're out of Perry's. I'm gone.
Are you every day? You're 7 days a week ice cream?
generally it's like 7 days.
Really?
I've cut a little bit back. Just
Checking your
because
sugar on a regular basis, Greg?
Greg the ice cream man.
Yeah.
I somehow I got premium preferred life insurance. Like
Hey,
they upgraded
thank
me.
God.
I was
Yeah,
like,
hey.
all right, we're good. Let's go roll with it.
Ice cream.
Whatever's
Issued by Perry's.
Yes. Yeah, this is a
Right.
plug for Perry's at the end of the day.
Maybe they'll send me a gallon.
Transitioning, one thing I wanted to kind of hash out with you, Greg, because I know you kind of meddle in this world too, is flipping, like flipping houses, buying, selling. Like, where is that world right now? Because I feel like with jacked up prices of buying homes right now, but then
Labor
also
costs up.
what's that?
Labor costs up.
Labor costs up, and then the cost of materials and appliances. We were talking how junky appliances are today. Like, what's your take, bro?
Flips, honestly, it's just more about you have to buy it right. Like anything else that you're trying to flip, right? You know, when I started got my license in 19 and 1920, you know, I flipped a few houses each of those years, and had a couple contractors that did a lot. I tried doing some, you know, same idea, ran numbers. This is what I think the budget is. This is what houses. Now houses were on that huge increase that year, so it was pretty easy to still end up on a positive the other side if you knew what you were doing, you know. So I could walk in and know the roof's fine, the foundation's fine, the siding's good, etc. But wholesaling is something that kind of blew up when COVID hit. And wholesaling is basically, you know, Constantine buys or gets the property under contract, right, for $100,000. And in your contract, you say, I have 21 days to keep or get rid of this property. in my own discretion. During that 21 days or whatever, you're shopping it to everybody else. You want this property? I got a property, 120,000 for you. Sign this paper, it's yours. You just take my seat at the closing table. So you make $20,000 without doing or owning it ever. You just had the right to it, and then you sold the right to it. So that ate up a lot of that meat that used to be there.
That's really like a real estate option.
It really is.
Yeah, correct.
I don't own it yet,
Yep.
but I'm going to sell it to you at a premium.
Yep.
Sometimes you ever see those not work out where they don't find it? That's the intent.
Yeah.
They
So
don't
they'll take the days, and then they either will keep it or they'll back out on their own. But they hold the insurance to do it, right? And then obviously you see huge money and easy money. Everyone of good character and bad character, if you will show up and join the party. So they're dealing with some people. It's like, yeah, what's going on? Is nobody are doing? And when I started, it was like, here's your $5,000. And again, it's a finder's fee. You would still, as long as the numbers work with the $5,000, I like paying it forward. As you guys don't like, thank you.
Yeah.
So $5,000, we would go do it. And there's some we took 3 weeks, some we took 3 months. And, I went from making 50, 60 grand a flip when we started, and then margins just keep shrinking and shrinking.
That's a good amount of margin up here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and some of the, there's ones we've taken losses on, and calculated risk and knowing what the gamble is. But I like to follow through and do things correctly. So if I know I'm taking a loss, I'll take the loss, but I know it's right at the other end. And I kind of lean on that quality and that advertising of the name to know that things are done right,
I appreciate you admitting that. And everybody brags about how they only do it right. Right. I only made money on every single deal, but not too many people say that. I've lost money, and we've heard it. We have clients that tell us I was upside down. Yeah, happens.
They had lost their ass on one last year. We went for it. It didn't play out the way it wanted. I tell people like, I'm like, listen, I'm open book. I'm not here to say that I'm the best. Like, no, you take a calculated risk. It didn't work. So I tried to leverage it any way I could to make, some advertising out of it. People knew about the house locally, which was good. The people that bought it said, we've been looking at new built houses for 2 years. We've never seen anything close to the quality you guys put in this.
Wow.
That's the people we work with. That's why we do remodels. And honestly, the flips we didn't need anymore. We have my own clients are calling us and having us come redo kitchens and basements. And
so you got a crew too, then?
We're at like 3 crews now. And a lot of them are from like, some are 3 months, some are 6 months, depending on what it was.
Yeah.
As
far as like a flip from start to finish or a remodel or whatever the case may be.
You name it, literally anything. That one we lost the money on was basically a whole new build. We put a new, we took everything out. We put new joists in. We put new subfloor in. We reframed the upstairs.
Wow.
Everything was 2023 code. But that's again what lasts. There isn't a lot of money in a flipping game doing quality. But coming into your homes and you guys pay to have the thing done right, exactly the way you wanted it and the way it should be the first time, there is value in that, and then they get to enjoy it for the years. And then when they go to sell, they don't have these issues falling, on them 24/7 and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't find any reason to ever get a call back because you didn't do something right the first time. It's something that bugs me.
Yeah.
So I just said, you know what? And I think you guys pay, but I learned I'm going to do what I do, how I do it. Following those right ideas, and I'm happy with it. I don't really need much else. I go to bed knowing that I steered people, honestly in the right way. We did the job the right way. We're very open and transparent about anything that could have been a plus or minus, and I'm good that way. I like sleeping at night. It's one of those things, looking at myself.
Yeah,
I like
for
my
sure.
sleep.
Do you, Greg? Do you have access? And I heard about this like these things years ago. It was like the access to the, what do I want to say? Like a foreclosure list or whatever, like where it's not just like general public, and then you can go. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Talking about the county.
The county thing.
The county.
Yeah.
There's no such thing.
No.
So it's everything foreclosure related is public.
It's public,
right? So you'll see on Zillow, one of the things they had is the pre-foreclosure.
Yeah, I saw that.
And we used to get, what's up with this? I'm like, I have no idea. This is something Zillow does if a tax bill isn't paid or a mortgage payment's missed, right? The person could have been 3 days late with a mortgage payment. It doesn't mean they're losing their house, So I'm like, listen, the only thing you can do is handwrite a letter to them and ask them what's up. I was like, they might not be very happy, but that's the reality. So the list that you would get are the published list of tax payments not made, things in arrears. Those are the lists. People know how to find those lists. They now sell those lists to people for leads, or they work those lists, call them and try to get things under contract. to wholesale or
Mhm.
keep or whatever it might be, and that in itself is a huge, huge grind. You got to work with a bank on the short sale if a bank's involved. The bank usually doesn't want to work with it. I had one
Yeah.
around the corner from me I spent 18 months on. I literally bought the windows for the place because I had it under contract. I
Yeah.
got the bank to agree. We're literally in the final closing week, and they realized that one of the owners who had passed didn't leave it to his wife at the time, left it to his son. His son would not call back anybody. Do it. House has been vacant for 10 years.
Oh my God.
And it sits and it continues. And now they're saying another 2 years for foreclosed. This lady has not lived or paid on that house in over 10 years. That's one of the things
Oh
I
my
don't
gosh.
understand. There always has to be a monetary incentive, my personal opinion here, on why things happen how they happen. Always is.
Right.
Whether there's no money for anybody to do it or someone has to have a gain somewhere.
Yeah.
What is the gain of a house sitting vacant for 10 years with no payment and no owner?
For anyone.
And no taxes collected.
Who
Right.
makes money?
Yeah.
That's
Like
right.
not even the citizens. You don't even get tax.
Property maintenance company and whatever attorneys are assigned.
Yeah.
But
How do they get paid? How do they get paid?
They bill and they bill and they bill. And then whenever proceeds are finally realized, they'll get a share of the thing. But in the meantime, you're sitting with a vacant house next to you,
Yeah.
which can be,
An
people
eyesore.
can take it over. It's an eyesore.
Yeah.
Again, towns aren't getting the taxes.
Yeah.
But someone give me a reason why
What are those people called that just like
Squatters.
squatters?
Squatters,
Oh,
yep.
dude.
who they got more rights than us probably in the
Yep.
state now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's sad. Like you want to live in a nice, all these people made their houses around it nice.
Yeah.
And for no reason, this bank won't just let the house go and give it to somebody else. And it makes no sense. And even me with all the knowledge and things that I knew how to navigate, it still sits. And then it will continue to sit. And there's really no
Jeez.
reason, but
Yeah.
it's it. And again, we're short on houses for people. We could give someone a nice house and in Gates there, and I don't know.
Frustrating.
It's just what happens.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the fun stuff that we've created, I guess. Right?
Greg, from and I just want to give like a little kind of plug for you, man. Like the one thing, so I knew Greg, I've known Greg's family for a long time. He went to Gates Chiley. What year did you graduate? Greg?
03.
03. Okay, so he was a little younger, about 5 years younger than us. Hustler, like, and I mean that in like there's a bad hustle and there's a good hustle. I mean hustle like work ethic, willing to put in the time, labor, like you were talking about earlier. I respect the snot out of that, and you for that, Greg. You put your right foot forward all the time, and you're willing to roll up your sleeves and get dirty for your clients' benefits. And I think that that's a competitive advantage working with you versus a lot of other people. You know, when you have 4,000 people to choose, you know what I mean?
Right. I appreciate that.
So I tip my hat to you.
That's where we align a little bit because you guys do the same. That I know.
I appreciate that as well. If somebody wants to get a hold of you or your team, what's the best way, Greg?
We got a website, the gchomesteam.com. We're at RemaxPlus. We got offices on Monroe Ave, right down the street. Our personal offices at 2850 West Ridge Road, across from Wegmans there in Greece. Call me up, 585-202-1122. I'm happy to talk or answer any questions you have anytime. Always can help how we are. Doesn't mean you have to work with us. I don't always have to get money out of it. I like to help people when I can. So if I can, I will. And if not, we'll get you to the right place that you can get the help.
Awesome. Greg, thank you for your time. Constantine, any closing comments?
No, I appreciate it, man. Thanks again. It was great to have you on the show. Thanks again for listening to the Pennywise Financial Podcast.
Thanks for having us.
You've been listening to Pennywise Financial, brought to you by Monarch Wealth Management. Constantine and David really care about their clients. They want to make sure you're happy, so you'll continue to hire them. There's no commitments, and clients are free to leave whenever they want. Think about being able to pick up the phone and call someone for guidance and advice on almost anything, from buying a car, selling a home, buying vacation properties, or even selling a business. Reach out on the website at monarchwealthmanagement.com. There are 2 offices in Rochester and 2 offices in Buffalo. Reach out to us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube, or call us toll-free at 800-480-1580. That's 800-480-1580. Until next time, this is Pennywise Financial, signing off.
The opinions voiced in this program are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, Consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, and SIPC.